Well, hello there. My name is Christopher Scott, and thank you for joining me for another one of these Bible lessons as we're going verse by verse through the book of John. It's great to have you with us. If you're new to these videos, there's a specific Bible study format that I follow. There's a link down there in the description for an article that I wrote and was published in New Identity magazine. It's a free article. You don't have to insert your email address or anything. Just click on that link, and that Bible study process explains how I format these videos. If you're new with us, just want to make sure that's available to you. So today we're looking at chapter 5 of the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 1 through 18. And before I read the passage today, I just want to give you a little overview of where we've been and where we are in this passage. So the first 6 chapters of the Gospel of John are describing Jesus. Jesus comes on the scene, and it is describing who Jesus is from different viewpoints. And in chapter 5, specifically, we have some of the claims of Jesus. Who does he claim to be? And then in these first 18 verses, Jesus claims to be equal with God the Father, which was very controversial. So Jesus claims to be equal with God the Father. Another good way to outline these beginning chapters of the Gospel of John is that, the first 4 chapters are presenting who Jesus was. John the Baptist presents who Jesus is. The disciples present who Jesus is. Jesus presents who he is to Nicodemus, to the Samaritan woman at the well. So the first 4 chapters are about, presenting who Jesus is. And then in chapter 5, we start to have the confrontations of Jesus. And this is a confrontation we see here with the Jews, Pharisees, that are talked about. And that'll be chapter 5 through chapter 12. There's 7 whole chapters covering Jesus's confrontations with different groups of people and what he says, what they say, and how he responds. Okay, but today we're looking about Jesus claiming to be equal with God the Father in chapter 5, verses 1 through 18. So let's go ahead and read it. I'm going to read from the New American Standard Bible like I normally do, and then we'll do our Bible study process and go through it together here. So John chapter 5, verse 1. After these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethsaida, having 5 porticos. In these lay a multitude of those who are sick, blind, lame, and withered, waiting for the moving of the waters. For an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after stirring up the water, stepped in, was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. A man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool, when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk." Immediately the man became well, and picked up his pallet and began to walk. Now it was the Sabbath on that day. Verse 10, so the Jews were saying to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath, and it is not permissible for you to carry your pallet." But he answered them, "He who made me well was the one who said to me, 'Pick up your pallet and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Pick up your pallet and walk'?" But the man who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had slipped away while there was a crowd in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "Behold, you have become well. Do not sin any more, so that nothing worse happens to you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who made him well. For this reason, the Jews were persecuting Jesus, because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. But he answered them, "My Father is working until now, and I myself am working." For this reason, therefore, the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because he not only was breaking the Sabbath, but also was calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. That's God-inspired, inerrant word that we're looking at today, John chapter 5, verses 1 through 18. So let me start with some observations. What does the text say? If I was to give one big idea for this passage, it's that Jesus heals a paralyzed man and claims to be equal with God. Jesus heals a paralyzed man and claims to be equal with God. In the first part here, the first few words in verse 1, chapter 5, it says, after these things, okay? And after these things is what we studied in chapter 4, where Jesus was in Judea. He heads up to Galilee, but on his way to Galilee, he stops in Samaria, talks with the woman at the well. Then he continues up to Galilee to Cana, and that's where he first turned water into wine, was in Cana. This man in Capernaum, which is a little ways away, about 15 miles away, hears that Jesus is there, so that's the royal official. He walks to Jesus and asks Jesus to heal his son. And then after that happens, Jesus goes back to Jerusalem, okay? And that's where Jesus went to find this man in Jerusalem. And it's interesting here, it says, after these things, there was a feast of the Jews, which is probably Passover. And Jesus went up to Jerusalem, it says, which is weird because Cana and Capernaum are north of Jerusalem. I'm a California kid, okay? I grew up in California in the middle of the state. So we'd say, I'm going to go up to Sacramento, meaning you're going north to Sacramento. Or we're going to go down to Los Angeles, which means south. But in the Bible, when it says up and down, it usually means elevation, meaning Cana was about 700 feet above sea level, but Jerusalem is about 2,500 feet above sea level. So you're literally going uphill to get there. Or if you read the Psalms, a lot of times the Psalms will say a psalm of ascent, meaning they were ascending, going up to Jerusalem. It's something they would sing, a psalm that they would recite and sing on their way up to Jerusalem. So when we read the Bible, we kind of got to take off our, postmodern American, left brains things and research and live in their world, which is up and down means up in elevation or down in elevation, not north or south, like most of us use language today. Okay, so there's some basic observations, and he goes to Jerusalem to most likely the Passover celebration. Okay, now let's do some interpretation. This is the third sign miracle that is in the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John contains 7 of these sign miracles that are miracles that Jesus does, that John puts in there as a sign that Jesus is the Messiah, that he is the awaited Son of God, the Messiah, the King. And they're put in there so that people will believe. In past videos, I've talked about belief and faith in almost every video. And that's a theme that comes up over and over and over again in the Gospel of John. And this is another one of those sign miracles. But it's interesting when you read this passage, the paralyzed man, some of them call him impotent or invalid is what this translation means. He probably was just paralyzed. He could not walk. This man doesn't have any faith in Jesus. He doesn't even know who he is. So sometimes we think in the Bible, to get well, you had to have faith, or you had to have belief in Jesus, and then you get well. This guy didn't have any faith. He didn't even know who Jesus was when the Pharisees asked him that, okay? So, and when it says Jews, these Jews that were questioning the paralyzed man and these Jews that were talking about Jesus and were persecuting him, those are probably the Pharisees, okay? Most likely. And Bethsaida, I got a map here I want to show you. Bethsaida is a small pool that was in the temple. And in 1888, there were some excavations that were being done in Jerusalem, in the temple, and they actually found this portico, this little pool that had 5 pillars around it. So this is, the book I'm using is the Moody Atlas of the Bible, a great resource that I really like. And so the Bethsaida pool, as you can see, is right up here, kind of in the northeast eastern part of the city of the temple. Okay, so it's within the temple area, especially the newer temple that was built under Herod. And again, this is a great book to get if you ever want a good resource, okay, that I really like. So this was found in 1888. They found this location, and we believe this is actually the site where there was some water there that would come up through springs. A little note in the text here says maybe it was an angel or angel of the Lord. That appears to be added later on to explain, but it likely was just a spring that would stir up the waters in there, okay? So in this passage, it's important to see, Jesus takes the initiative to help people and serve people. He took the initiative to talk with that woman at the well, and he takes the initiative to heal this paralyzed man. Okay, so those are some interpretations, what the text means. And I have one main application I want to share with you from this passage. And it is this: everyone is important, even the impotent, right? Impotent is, some of the translations use that. Impotent. He couldn't walk, he couldn't move, he was paralyzed. But everyone is important. Everyone is important. We just saw this in chapter 4 when Jesus talked with the Samaritan woman at the well. We saw that at the end of chapter 4 when he heals the royal official's son. And here, there's this invalid, this paralyzed man that's stuck there, had been there for 38 years probably, trying to get healed. And Jesus takes the initiative. Everyone is important. Everyone in our lives is important. Even the guy, standing outside of Walmart, mumbling to me, asking for change Wednesday night, 2 nights ago, he's important. I gave him my change, reached in my pocket, had $1 of quarters or whatever, and gave it to him. Everyone is important. Jesus saw everyone. He knew what was going on, and he reached out there. So that's our application here. Hope that's helpful for you as we read about how Jesus claims to be equal with God. And that's the end part here that I didn't touch on as much. Some people will say, the Bible never really says that Jesus was God. Yet here, John inserts this note: Jesus was calling God, his own Father, making himself equal with God. Seems pretty clear to me. So again, thanks for watching these videos. There'll be a subscribe button up there. You're welcome to subscribe. You get updates on future videos, and then a couple other videos there you might like to watch too will pop up. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to catch you again soon on another video.